Hey, what's up? We are reading a new chapter of Boku no Hero Academia. So we're seeing 800 meters southeast of the hideout, 1 kilometer west of the hideout, 800 meters north of the hideout. Okay. So the chateau thing that everyone was meeting up at, I guess, is just kind of the public facing part of it. And actually, there's this gigantic assembly hall underneath, which we've seen before during the big announcement of the team up between the Meta Liberation Army and the League of Villains. They showed that big proclamation in this underground sanctuary. So it looks like the heroes know what's up, though. That there's these other entry points and also thus escape points that they're going to close off. Probably all of this is from Hawks' undercover work. Aha! When he started shouting like cancel the conference in the last chapter, the skeptic guy, I was like, oh, that seems a little late and unnecessary. Half of the building's getting torn down. I'm pretty sure they know the conference is canceled. But the actual conference was happening underground at that time. That's where Redestro was. And yeah, that news is just reaching them now that heroes are coming. Comms are all jammed, and the only way out is through the mansion, because they've clogged up quite thoroughly these other ways out and in. A ridiculous number of heroes showed up out of nowhere. They've got the whole hideout surrounded. I really like this ridiculous number of heroes. It really does seem ridiculous. And I think that's one of the strengths of the series is that they just have such a huge amount of heroes that they never once restrained themselves and said, oh, only 1 in a billion, can fight on this level. Even only 1 on a million. Any sort of claim like that is just going to put a choke on the number of characters they can introduce. But no, they said everyone gets a quirk. Well, basically everyone. And sure, a lot of those quirks aren't going to be superhero worthy, but there's a ton of heroes out there, and anyone could possibly become a hero. So it's a nice message, and in situations like this, I just love that they have a ridiculous number of heroes. I love these zoom-ins on Redestro's face, too. That really iconified eye, and then the gleam off of his his widow's peak, his recessed hairline. Yeah, he's not taking it well. Immediately his quirk starts activating. He gets all muscular and dark. Meanwhile, Cementos. This is me back at the main battle. That is a ridiculous number of heroes. My gosh. So we saw one of the major generals on the enemy front taken down by a mere boy, just a lad who has like a lightning rod-like power. That is, of course, our beloved Kaminari. And the brilliant tactician on the villain's side, his idea is just to crank it up. How many million volts can you withstand? But that doesn't seem to be like good quirk knowledge. That doesn't seem to be like it's more than likely just giving him exactly what he wants. Most quirks aren't, well, I can do this up until a point. Well, I guess actually quite a few of them are, now that I say that. Actually, I take back everything I said. The series is much more about the quirks not being just kind of cheat codes, but actually having physical limitations and kind of physical manifestations such that they really can be overloaded, or they're not just absolutes. But still, it seems kind of dumb. But he's like, well, I guess I'll just do the same thing again, but more. Anyways, before he can even get a chance, the leader of this hero faction, the number 3 or 4? Oh, excuse me, number 3 or 4? Definitely top 5 ranked hero, Edge Shot, using his 1,000 sheet pierce. I'm not quite sure what's happening here, but I love the depiction of speed, that he hits every one of these villains, and we can trace this little string-like pattern from shot to shot to shot, I don't know what he's attacking them with necessarily, but we know that he's doing it fast before any of them can react. I've put tiny holes in your lungs. Getting worked up could put you at death's door in that state. But a nice nap will have you healed in no time. Whoa, that's like quite devilish. So Edshot himself becomes this string type thing that we've seen that worked its way through the entire crowd. That was just him. That wasn't like his weapon. That was Edshot himself. Okay. A really creepy attack here, but I guess it's trying to be kind of a non-violent solution. Like, if you keep fighting, you're going to really damage yourself. But if you just chill, you can get out of this without getting hurt. I can see why this is a very valuable power for heroes, but like at the same time, you probably go up against quite a few villains that are like, yeah, right, and then they, run in and then they start coughing up blood, and then maybe they die, and you're like, I told you? Is that good enough to just be like, I told you? I don't know. Here we see Midnight with the follow-up. She used this power before to subdue Bakugo after he won the sports festival. Right? That's where we first saw it. That her power is this nullifying aroma, putting people unconscious. But the attacks keep coming. The lacquered chain prison from Kamui of the Woods. We've seen him use such attacks before. Mess, even the regiments are falling to pieces. Go down and at least take a few of these dogs with, but it's too late. The ground itself melting away. Mudman. This is one of the Class 1B people playing a really good support role. It's pretty interesting. Like a lot of these these students, even though in like a 1v1 fight they would probably get wrecked if they're ever actually focused down. But because people aren't paying all that much attention to them, their quirks actually have like huge benefits as like a support class, that even though, modifying the ground isn't going to win the fight on its own, if everyone on the hero side knows it's coming and can plan around it, and everyone on the villain side is halfway up to their waist. Oh, and then the mushroom girl. Yo, I still think the moment in the A-B fight, I love that A-B fight arc so much. But when the mushrooms start sprouting, just the surreality of it, just the sense of like, I don't know, like the infiniteness of the possibilities it opens up to have a power this weird suddenly coming into play, I just think is fantastic. There she is with her adorable mushroom guns, blasting all the villains with spores. Crowd control to me, shroom. Yeah, she always says shroom as her little vocal tick. Got it from here. We'll take down their top guns with our full force. You're gonna see some Gang Orca in effect. That guy next to Gang Orca has such like a 90s mascot-esque design, very like Sonic Hedgehog-y. I assume that they're really strong because we've always seen them on like the front lines, but I wonder, like, what what are they capable of? Are they just gonna run around really fast and punch people like Sonic? I'd be super into that. Send out the time and date and time of the attack via code. If I make it sound easy, believe me, it wasn't. So now we go back to Hawks's capturing an interrogation or something. We're not really sure what his game is, but he's got twice cornered, completely pinned down by his feathers. And here we see him ripping out the bugs from his feathers, which is why, of course, he had to communicate in such obfuscated code, because the villains and stuff were listening to everything he said to the heroes. So this is it. He's fully betrayed. Everyone understands. The skeptic guy knew immediately that it must be Hawks. Real threat was the sheer numbers on your side, so I had to keep an especially sharp eye on you and your double. Certainly wouldn't leave you to your own devices. Let's go over liberation ideology before the big conference. Didn't suspect a thing, right? Please don't resist. I'm going to capture you and hand you over to the authorities. That's how this works. So this makes sense. And again, I just love this idea. that Twice, when you think about his powers logically, is far and away the greatest threat that the villains have on their side. And all of this special effort taken in neutralizing him makes so much sense in that context. It's just so cool, this like growing realization that just another villain, just another flunky, another member of the team actually is so special in this regard. It's neat. Hold on. Uh-oh. He's remembering the devastation of his comrades. Someone's got to pay for this. No. Killed Big Sis Meg. The one who blew Mr. Compress's arm to bits. So yes, he's thinking back to when there was the beef between the Yakuza and the League of Villains. That Twice and Togo were the ones that went along with the Yakuza, that kind of agreed to be part of that mission. I mean, even though, you know, Chisaki had done so much that he hated. It's always like this. Got me to carelessly lead him right to everyone. And again, we see here like a real humanizing of the villains. And someone left a wonderful comment. I forgot to respond to it, sorry. Detailing a lot of other efforts the series has made to really humanize the villain characters and to not make them just scum in every way, shape, and form. But to highlight moments where they too have bravery, they too have camaraderie, they too care about the people that they've come up with, much in the way that the heroes do. And it just happens more that they have differing ultimate goals, but the methods by which they reach those goals, the teamwork involved, and this kind of shonen spirit of determination and hard-fought victory, and not really all that different. And the way that Hawks especially is villainized. Not just that Twice is kind of empathetic here and really has the protagonist's perspective, but the way that Hawks, like, my God, can you imagine how painful this is for Twice? Genuinely believing that Hawks was his friend. Genuinely thinking that he was doing such a great service to the army by helping Hawks integrate, by teaching him the ways of everything going on. Not again. I had to trust you because I felt bad for you. It's a guy with nothing left supposed to do. Find someone who will trust you. Friends. How sad is it if nobody trusts you? Thanks. And Hawks, I want to think that Hawks is actually much more moved by this than he's letting on. That he knows for the safety of the world he has to do his duty, of course, and that no amount of trust in Twice can overpower the threat that he possesses by hanging out with these guys. But that I hope that he's going to try to improve Twice's life after this. That it's not just going to be rotting in prison forever and ever, but that some true rehabilitation could come of it. You've just been unlucky, but you can make a fresh start once you pay for your crimes. I'll even help you start over. See, this is what I wanted. Because you're a good person. That's what I wanted to see. And look at the sadness in Hawks' eyes. Just this is really nicely done, I think. Because all the way up until now, with this scene, we've seen Twice's perspective. And we've seen Hawks totally in shadow. Just these glaring, narrow eyes. The feathers always looming around him. But then, finally, after Twice might have passed out from fear and just sheer despair, we finally see kind of Hawks' perspective. Everything is lit up now. The camera rotates to behind Hawks instead of constantly looking up at him from Twice's view on the ground. This is nice. Because you're a good person. Shut up. Ooh, but his kind of alternate personality, this kind kind of complex he has in his mind has started firing up. Call yourself a hero. Fresh start. That's a load of crap. Come on. As for what happens to me, I stop giving a damn way, way back. Oh man. This is pretty brutal because I think if Hawks had just kept up the pressure, if Hawks had just played the role of a villain almost and had no compromise and no empathy towards Twice in this entire interaction, Twice might have been so despairing that he would just submit entirely. But in trying to offer him kindness and trying to suggest that things might be better and different in the future, it's like Twice, I don't know, he was like triggered. Like he doesn't want that false hope. He doesn't want to try to be convinced yet again that things could be better. Because he believes that he's resigned himself to something. He believes that he's beyond hope now. So the suggestion, I don't know. This is quite a kind of profound character moment, I think. Like really think about that. The hateful rejection of hope, the raging against the idea of hope. It's something that I think seems quite counterintuitive and contrary to consider at first, but yeah, it's something that can be so tragic. Don't want to fight you, Bubugai Gawara. Good for freaking you. Oh man. Okay. The doubling begins. Twice clones spewing out for themselves at an incredible rate. Even though the feathers are flying around him right now, like we can see that in kind of like one frame, like before the feathers can strike, there's already this many of them. Trade my soul for the League's happiness. And all of the clones are crying. The sad man's parade. The character of Twice is like really interesting to me. Like this combination of like comedicness and great despair, like such kind of like a clown type character. And I think the duplicating effect is such like a good fit for that. It kind of reminds me of Black Sperm in One Punch Man. The way that he would kind of express the complexity of both his like arrogance and yet his kind of jubilation, the strength and yet the individual fragility and stuff, just by having so many of the sperm dancing around and doing weird background gags and kind of displaying this bizarre range of personality. It's quite similar to this, right? Like, not that some of these ones in the background are doing strange things. It really shows like a multitudinousness internally. And then the fact that on top of all of this, that a character such as this that is like kind of so interesting and compelling just in how the character is written, actually has such a pivotal role in the story, kind of more like incidentally, I think is quite cool. Because normally there's almost a trade-off between, well, we can have this character be really interesting as a character, or we can have them really interesting in terms of their storyline placement, right? That the more central a character is to the story, the more they kind of have to be open, like kind of like a blank slate, upon which the events of the story can kind of proceed through. Do you kind of know what I mean? This is like very fundamentals of storytelling, so fundamental that you'll probably find many more like counterexamples than examples. But if you think of, your kind of cliche protagonists and antagonists, it's always the side characters that actually have more personality, that have more complexity in their personality, because the protagonist just kind of needs to get stuff done. Such that, to have a side character that turns out to be like the strongest villain in some sense, maybe we'll see the limitations of that, but it's certainly a huge concern for the heroes. I don't know. It's nicely subversive. It feels like he's kind of getting his chance to shine as like an archetype. I don't know. I don't really know what I'm talking about. I hope that makes like even a bit of sense. I'm just really fascinated by the expanding role. This isn't your fault. Twice isn't your fault. As always, scummy heroes are to blame. And here's Dabi, probably now grasping the full extent of the situation, that Hawks has betrayed them, has worked out exactly what Hawks is doing right now, and is on his way to try to help out Twice. Could be a good fight. Dabi versus Hawks. I'm not quite sure what Twice is going to do in terms of fighting, or just despairing, or what, but interesting chapter. This character of Twice, I'm quite interested in. Okay, we will look forward to another one next week. Please join me then. Bye-bye for now.